Hey,
Is
Tom.
that the pronunciation? Christophe.
Yeah, perfect.
Very good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, I came across your channel there recently. I thought, interesting, get a perspective on French herbal medicine.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a fairly recent channel. My French one is kind of old now, but the English one is new indeed.
Yeah, I only realized today you have over 1 million subscribers on your French channel. That's a
Yeah, I
great
know.
achievement.
I know. I never thought I could achieve status. It's been quite surprising. I really started making videos in 2018, and I did a lot of them for a couple of years, and the channel grew very quickly. And to my surprise, we got to the million. So here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm doing YouTube 10 years. Well, I stopped for a couple of years. So I've just kind of restarted. Um, but I always enjoyed making content.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's very fulfilling. I think it teaches us how to clearly communicate around subjects that are sometimes quite difficult to understand. So it's a very good exercise.
yeah, definitely.
Mm,
Say if you want to learn something, you need to teach it.
yeah, that's true indeed. So how long have you been practicing herbalist?
I qualified around 2012.
Mm.
Did a 4 year course down in Portlaoise with the Irish School of Herbal Medicine. And I practiced until COVID. And during COVID, I stopped. I always practiced part-time. I always I work in a non-profit sector, so I kind of have a day job
Okay, yeah.
teaching in the university as well and addiction studies. So I've never really practiced full-time.
And the degree in Scotland, is it the same level as in England? Because the herbalist status in the UK is actually quite impressive. I think it's one of the best in the world.
Yeah, yes, England has a longer tradition than Ireland. I'm in Dublin. I'm in Dublin, Ireland. Um, and yeah, it's interesting the different traditions. Um, no, we didn't do a degree. It was like a practitioner course um, on the style of working with the master
Mhm.
herbalist. Actually, it's called the master herbalism. So the strength of our course was the 600 hours I think I did in clinical practice.
Very
So
solid, yeah.
yeah, doing
Mhm.
doing kind of supervised case studies, case reviews, taking a case, prescribing, and so forth. At the
Yeah.
time I was training, I was managing an addiction center, and
Well,
that was my original motivation has always been to try and use non-medical approaches to mental health and
yeah.
addiction. So I was uh, I was experimenting primarily with teas because we were funded by the government, so there was restrictions on what we could do. Herbal
Oh,
medicine is not mainstream in Ireland, um, but yeah, I'm interested in teaching people and trying to bring people to the path of natural healing and challenge the dominant way of thinking about health.
yeah, there's so much need these days and so many people suffering, I think even more mentally than physically.
Yeah,
And I don't know how it is in Scotland and the UK, but in France, the medical system is being stretched to the limit, and some days you think it's going to collapse. I mean, people ending in the emergencies, and the system being completely overwhelmed with the aging population. I mean, and in France, the growing deficit and the government trying to cut corners
mm.
here and there. Oh, I don't know. So I think that the need for herbalists will grow, um,
So I have a few,
and we just have to be accepted.
yeah, just since we're on this topic and we get back into the kind of start of the interview, but is herbal medicine kind of accepted in the mainstream, or is it seen as kind of a fringe type of thing that's paid with suspicion and all of that? What is the status of herbal
Uh,
medicine in France?
So the status of herbal medicine in France, it's a complicated question because we have to look back at the origins, and I think the story dates back from the 1800s, where we have a growing popularity of herbal stores in France as people migrate to the cities to find jobs. The the herbalists are also migrating to the cities, and they're opening stores to sell the herbs and also to give advice. So the term, the French term herboriste, so it's not herbalist, it's like herborist.
Mm.
It actually means, the original sense is the person who sells the herb in the store along with a bit of advice, right? And the the healing, the consultation part was really always more or less reserved for the medical doctors. Um, and so it's a different path than what we see in the US, for instance, where from the 1970s, the herbal schools, herbal medicine grows, but it's being rebuilt by non-medical practitioners. And then we see new schools appearing, and they look into the old writings from the eclectics, and they bring that back in the practice, and they integrate the East and the West. And in France, during the Second World War, the only certificate we had, the only training schools we had, got canceled. So that certificate got canceled. So nobody had the right to open a store unless you were a pharmacist. And and then phytotherapy, the art of practicing herbal medicine, was really developed by doctors by then. I mean, if you look at the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, we have a few doctors, Dr. Valnet, Leclerc. We have a few names of great practitioners who restarted the practice, but it was really by the doctors for the doctors. And that gives the taint for what herbal medicine became in the 90s and even the 2000s, where um, the non-medical practitioners were either non-existent or hiding. The naturopath started much faster than we did. So I think starting in the 90s, we see a lot of naturopath, and in the 2000s, even more. So if you go to a large city today, in France, you will see a lot of naturopath offices here and there. But herbalists, you could see none of them, because there was no place. There was no place for them, really. The naturopath just went ahead and took the place, but on the herbal side, for some reason, it was just the doctors driving. So, and then in 2018, we had a senator who revived the herbal project, which was buried into the archives of the Senate. It was buried because different political different politicians in the past had tried to pass new law, but it always failed because of the different lobbies. So it always failed. And the senator in 2018, he took the project again and gave it a different spin. And he really did a great job of opening up spaces so that everybody could come around the table and talk about what they did. So he created, his name is Joël Labbé. He's very known senator in the ecological sector, and he created what he called an informational mission, where he invited all the different professions and he let them speak and present to all the politicians. And everybody realized how complicated the situation was. It was really, I mean, the laws don't make sense. You have small producers making simple balms who have to fill up whole files and reports, uh, just like if they were L'Oreal, you know. I mean, it is so everybody came and talked about their herbal work. So the producers, the pickers, the makers of herbal medicine, and then if some practitioners came, not a lot, and but everybody could speak, and the politicians realized how messy the situation was. So a few years later, nothing came out of it from a new law perspective. But what it did is that we all organized ourselves through different associations and federations and therefore became much stronger. So myself and some colleagues, I co-founded the French Herbalist Guild.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, which didn't exist. I mean, we had different associations and federations, but for uh, other jobs in the herbal field, and it was mostly driven by growers. You know, France has a this huge tradition about growing, you know, working the fields and producing food, and so the growers organized themselves way back in the 80s, and so they were at the forefront of the political project, and everybody else was behind. But we also followed as much as we could, and we created associations, and today it's great because we all talk to each other, and we're all visible. You know, finally we're visible because we can claim a status. And actually, tomorrow, at the end of this week, we have a big event in the south of France where all the different associations will all gather, and there will be politicians who will see, you know, all the progress we've made, not through new laws, but through just auto
Absolutely.
organization, auto management.
Mm.
So we can organize the profession. We can put the bar. We don't need the government to put the bar at a high level. We can put the bar. We can do auto or
Yeah,
peer recognized accreditation, just like the American Guild, you know, and so that's where we are today. We have no rights really to practice. There's no concept of registered herbalist. We're not integrated into the French health system. We're just saying we're here. We've been hiding for too long. We shouldn't be hiding because we're doing nothing wrong and we're actually helping people. And here's how, here's what we do. We don't specialize in pathologies because pathologies are for medical doctors. We don't diagnose, we don't prescribe. We just help people to get better quality of life.
yeah,
And that's the most interesting part for us. You might have a autoimmune disease or a cancer or another pathology. Fine.
yeah,
If we help you to better sleep, to better eat and digest and manage your stress and your immunity, as we know, most of the work will be in place and you'll feel better. So that's where we are today.
very good.
Does that make sense? Sorry,
Yeah, no,
I speak
that's
a lot.
yeah, no, that's very interesting, and
Hmm.
it's a very good insight
Hmm.
into the different approaches. It sounds like in France, the main approach is to educate people rather than to treat them. So you
Yeah,
don't have like
yeah.
In Ireland, we can prescribe and treat people, but we're still viewed with suspicion. Um, the dominant medical, biomedical model, pharmaceutical model is the
Hmm.
dominant form of medicine. They have all the power, and most people, but more important in Ireland and the UK, more and more people are turning to holistic, organic, natural, uh, all sorts in yoga, meditation, somatic work in the body, herbs and acupuncture and
Yeah.
reflexology. So it sounds like what you're doing in France is very good, creating the guild, bringing people together, creating solidarity, having this event, being more visible. It sounds really good. Maybe we just circle back to tell us a little bit of how you got into herbal medicine in the beginning. Where did your journey start and what was the influences around that time?
So the journey started when I was living in the US in the 2000s.
Mm,
Um, I I'm an engineer by education,
yeah.
so I've always been a big fan of math and science, and I was a real geek when I was younger. I had one of the first Commodore computer. I mean, I was programming when I was 14,
Yeah.
the caricature of the geek. And so, even though my childhood was spent in nature, I got attracted to science and computers, and I became an engineer. And I worked as an engineer until I was in my 30s, and then at some point, as I was in the U.S. working for a big American firm, I don't know, it all came back to me. All that, first of all, I was missing home. I was missing my family, and home is Provence in the southeast of France. And I don't know, I was in California and I was working in those big buildings, and I don't know why it came rushing back out of nowhere, but it did. And I started to wonder how I could come back to France and what I could do, because in Provence there's very little high tech. So I was wondering, well, then should I change jobs? And then I started to think about herbs, which connected me back to when I was a kid. Um, and literally it started with a couple of books that I bought, and I loved the subject. And then I did some studies, and I learned through doing myself. That's the way I learn. I study, and then I need to apply the knowledge. I do loops like this, So very quickly I was making herbal medicine and helping people around me. And then at some point I started to do real formal consultations. That was second part of the 2000s. And at this stage I knew I would try to make a job out of it. So at some point I stopped my high-tech job, and I started to launch myself fully into the herbal world. And I did a bit of everything. So I came back to Provence. My parents had a big piece of land, so I cultivated uh, a lot of herbs for many
Wow.
years.
Mm,
Um, I
interesting.
was making a lot of tinctures and bulk herbs, and I was still consulting back then, and I was not making a living out of it.
Mm,
So after a few years of significant stress, I went back to do a bit of consulting as my previous job.
mm,
That was in 2014, and then I knew that I couldn't go back. I mean, I was screwed. So I had the idea to start selling online classes, and that's what I did in 2015. I did my first class on herbal medicine making,
very good.
and it sold well. And then I knew I was out of the woods, more or less. It took me another few years to pay the bills, but
Yeah.
by 2018 I knew that I would make a living out of it. So from 2010, when I came back to France, to 2018, it was a bit of an adventure. um, and which, taking me back to my childhood, I think I got that love from my grandparents mostly. My grandpa was an amazing gardener. I mean, people would stop by his house to take a look at his garden, and I was helping him all the time. I loved it. and he was also a mushroom picker. And my grandma was she was gathering herbs, so thyme and rosemary and savory, and not a lot, but she knew how to use it for cooking and sometimes for herbal teas. She also was the one who gathered wild salads. I mean, we call them wild salads, but the whole dandelion-like bitter green that over here you can pick in a lot of places. Like right now, we had a few good rains, and they're coming out again.
Yeah.
So my lunch every day is a big bunch of wild greens, and I love it. So when I was a kid, we did a lot of that, and nobody talked about it because it was just a way of living, right? You didn't say, "Oh, I'm a naturalist," or "Oh, I'm a." No, you just did it, right? The
No.
weekends you went and picking wood and moss to decorate the for Christmas, and chestnut to roast, and then there was linden picking time in the village, and I don't know, everything
Yeah.
was orchestrated through those nature outings, and that's what really gave me the love.
Mm.
Even though I went into computers and high tech, this came back
Yeah.
to catch me.
So his grandparents' influence and
Mm,
natural culture, or just a natural respect
yeah.
for the land and for what was the land provided. That's really interesting. Um, is there anything particularly unique about French herbal medicine that, stands out from other types, in terms of American herbalism or Spanish herbalism?
So
Given
I,
the
yeah,
land, what is there particular plants that come to mind? You've mentioned dandelion. Obviously, it's very popular in Ireland as well.
yeah. So French herbalism was very strongly affected by the post Second World War push by the physicians. And we had a handful of doctors. The most famous is Dr. Valnet. Everybody knows him more or less. But there were other doctors who really tried to anchor herbal medicine into science. Um, so and that's what has been shaping herbal practice in France. It's very science-based, it's very rational, and the French practitioners are, I mean, it's a big part of how we acquire new knowledge. So a big part of my research is the science and the studies, but I like to blend in also all the uh, all the tradition and other influences. But the French knowledge is very science-based, and it gives birth to the French style aromatherapy,
Mm,
which is very precise based on chemotypes
mm,
for herbs, right? So when we get into essential oils, for instance, if you tell a French practitioner I use rosemary essential oil, they like, no. I mean, which one?
mm,
Because we have three chemotypes for rosemary. We have camphor, we have eucalyptal, and we have verbenone.
mm.
So it's like three different oils, three
Yeah.
different remedies. One for the lungs, and one for the decontractant for the muscles, and one for this, and one for that.
Mm,
So it became very focused on the constituents,
mm,
very focused on the science, very precise, and titrating to hypericin, titrating to this and that.
yeah.
So that has been one influence. A second one has been a very strong tradition in the different regions
Mm,
and with very different ecosystems, right? We have the Alps and the mountains, very strong tradition around huge medicinal plants like gentian or arnica.
mm,
And then you have, for instance, the south where I live, very strong tradition around the Lamiaceae that are very rich in phenols, like the thyme and the winter savory and the oregano and the sage.
mm,
And then you have maybe areas closer to the ocean where they've been using seaweeds. And so
mm,
uh, the the educated folks were driving the science of herbalism, while in the countryside, the traditional practice was also continuing in parallel,
mm,
right? Um, and Well, the good thing is we managed today to reconcile the two and see that actually the tradition, or rather the science, confirms the indications we find in the tradition. The science helps us to explain the traditional indications, so everything comes back together.
yeah, no, that sounds very good because I suppose science gives a rationale to the ordinary person who questions how medicine is it effective and how is it effective. So it's good to blend the science with the tradition. And it's interesting the different parts of France as well having different ecosystems, which is,
Yeah.
would be
Hmm.
normal. Is foraging like do people, in France, is foraging something that's growing, like into mushrooms or something in Ireland that's suddenly
Yeah.
becoming very interesting?
Yeah. It's becoming very popular,
Mm.
in part thanks to videos. I mean, I'm not doing a lot of videos where I actually show
Yeah,
how to recognize the plant, how
yeah,
to differentiate, but some French channels do a very good job of that. So more and more people are doing it with the risk. I mean, those are the two sides of the coin, with the risk that actually we're not sure. There's a whole, what I like about French herbalism is that there's a lot of long-term discussions about sustainability of the natural resources, really a lot of discussions, and the question, can we sustain it? To give you an example, in my region there's a lot of wild asparagus, and people go pick it because it's nice in
yeah,
meals, right? It's very good. Well, I mean, the places where I used to pick now, I cannot find wild asparagus anymore. In the mountain, we have uh, bear's garlic. Do you
yeah. Wild garlic.
Wild garlic?
Yeah,
It's been so popular that now it's starting to be endangered.
yeah,
Uh, so,
yeah,
not to mention some plants like rhodiola, which is a
yeah,
ecological disaster.
yeah,
Um, but for the simple ones, yeah, people are really trying to identify the plants in the wild, and wild cooking is becoming more and more popular. We have a lot of chefs doing it now. Um, and Yeah, so people would go out for a hike, and maybe they have their smartphone, and they have an application like we have a few applications helping you to identify the plants,
yeah,
and they like to do that. It's more and more popular.
yeah. Yeah, I came across a new application here. It's called Incognito. Quite
Hmm.
good. Identifies a plant. It gives you a percentage of accuracy, and gives you a
Yeah.
bit of background.
Hmm.
It's one of the better ones. Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? The more people start foraging, the more endangered the natural world becomes. I find
Yes. Yeah.
in Dublin, I live in Dublin, and it's becoming even more urbanized. The green areas are being stripped away, and places where I would, particularly elderberry is very nice herb here in Ireland, very good for colds and flus. Um, Being stripped away, so it's harder to find uh, your special spots for different herbs.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we were thinking over here that growing, therefore growing those medicinal plants are a necessity now, and we have a lot of young, a new generation of growers. It's very exciting. I love to see that. Uh, Getting into, finding parcels and producing herbs, and um, herbs from France, but also, of course, now we see different tradition influencing us. So, uh, we started to have ashwagandha producers, astragalus producers, a few of them, but they're starting. I talked to some producers doing uh, um, who waits, I have the Chinese name, Shisandra,
Yeah.
growing Shisandra, and then all the very popular herbs in France as well. So that's I love to see that because, we're getting old, so
Yeah.
we need a new generation to take over
Yeah.
from us. And me, I was a kid in the 70s, and it looked like we could grow, grow, grow forever and get more and more and more comfortable
Yeah.
without an end. And well, we're finding out that it's far from being the case. So
Yeah.
those new generations, they're carrying a very heavy burden.
Yes.
I find it quite unjust, but that's
Yeah.
the way it is, and they're doing great things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Hmm.
true. The soil is becoming depleted of nutrients, and um, we're over extracting from nature itself. So it is a
Yeah.
problem.
Mm.
Just maybe as we, maybe focus on coming to the end of this interview, you mentioned at the beginning the French healthcare system is becoming overburdened. The impression I had was the French healthcare system, because in Ireland it's, we have a very bad healthcare system. It's very overburdened. But the French healthcare system seemed to be quite a good system, very good for people. Um, that seems to be under threat now. Is that the case?
Well, and here I want to differentiate the human in the system and the system,
Hmm.
because the people working in the system, the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists,
Hmm.
I mean, they're being stretched to the breaking point, and they're doing the best with a system that is crushing them. I mean, the studies, the medical students, when you see those, I don't know if it's 8 years or 10 years of studies, they're being crushed by a system. I mean, but the system itself is reaching its limit because not enough funds are being allocated. Our country is very much in debt, um, and the funds are being allocated for other things. So we used to have a great medical system.
Yeah.
I think we still, compared to some countries, and I lived in the US, so I know how much it can cost. We still have a very much socially supported system that will not close the door to anyone most of the time. So I think it's still an amazing system, but it's breaking down. We're losing it. It's a shame. It's
Yeah.
a shame. It used to be something good, solid, that everybody would envy, but
Mm.
don't know where it will go. So, and I think in that context, one thing we're seeing is that in the countryside, the countryside is becoming deserted. The doctors are fleeing.
Yeah.
They're going to the cities. So the herbal practitioners are saying we can fill that void. We have a role, a
Yeah.
lot of us live in the countryside,
Yeah.
and we could create links.
Yeah.
We don't play doctors. We're not being trained for that. We're careful, but there's a role for us to
Yeah.
play. So
Yeah.
why not help? Why not see us? Why not recognize us? But
Yeah.
we're not there yet.
Yeah. But I suppose the people in those rural areas do see herbal medicine as something that's on their doorstep, maybe, and sometimes it's the people that speak. So that's a good opportunity. And then, what are the big health issues in France? Obviously heart disease, obesity, mental health,
It's all over the place.
autoimmune. Yeah.
Yeah, all of the above. Autoimmune, cancer, cardiovascular,
Yeah.
metabolic
Mm.
issues, um, sleep, a lot of sleep problems, a lot of digestive deficiencies.
Yeah.
Like people are able to digest less and less and less, and
Mm.
creating a very rigid routine. And if they get out of that routine, they cannot digest. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Lime, we're getting a lot of. We have some post-COVID
Yeah.
fatigue. We have some chronic Lyme. We have I did a list before we started to chat. Fertility issues,
Yeah.
endometriosis
Yeah.
in women. A lot of
Yeah.
ask for help. So it's all over the place.
So a lot of common health problems in the Western world rising out of high levels of stress, high levels of toxicity.
Yeah. I sometimes I joke a bit when I started in the 2000. One of the requests was to, yeah, and I was in the US back then, but I remember people would ask, they would say, I know I work a lot. Do you have the herbs to help me to buffer that stress and slow down a bit because I'm concerned that I'm going to reach the wall and I'm going to get into a burnout. And now 2025, I think we reached the wall and now there's so many people in burned out situation. So we moved on for overexcited to just completely depleted and exhausted. So big over the 20 years, big crash.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, immunity, low immunity or overactive immunity with all those autoimmune disease. So it's very, very diverse.
Yeah. And last question, what herbs are you taking now, or what are your favorite herbs and like to use yourself?
Mm. Yeah. So first of all, rosemary is one of my favorite herb, and it's doing me a lot of good. So first of all, it's a big liver tonic in France. Rosemary is, right? It's not known this way, for instance, in the US, but in France, it's a liver tonic. It's a liver protector. Um, it is a mind tonic, cognitive stimulant, and probably one of the best antioxidant we have from nature. Uh, from what I can see, probably even better than green tea or other antioxidants. So I drink it on a regular basis. I love it. I feel better when I do. Sometimes I forget, but
Yeah.
and it grows like around here. I can go pick it fresh. I like to add a slice of organic lemon.
Mhm.
So that's one of my favorite mix. There's rosemary, lemon, or rosemary and peppermint. These are my
Oh,
two favorite
yeah.
mixes. Um, Gentian is very good for me. I need my bitters. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
one of those guys where if I don't have my bitters for a while, I start to, I don't know. I know something is missing. Like how do they say in Chinese medicine, liver heat rising or something, or
Yeah.
liver fire rising or
Yeah.
something, and
Yeah.
and I'm definitely a liver fire type of guy. So,
Yeah.
and there's one preparation that I really like that I learned from a friend in the mountain. So in a liter of water,
Mhm.
you put 2 to 3 chunks of gentian root,
Mhm.
a little chunk, 2 to 3, no more,
Yeah.
and you let it overnight, and the next day you drink that water. You drink the whole liter throughout the day.
Yeah.
It is bitter, but not super bitter.
Yeah.
So it's not like a decoction or a
Yeah.
tincture.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a
and
nice idea.
yeah, people call that gentian water in the
Yeah.
Alps. So I drink my gentian water for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time, and that helps me to better digest, to better tolerate a little bit of alcohol because
Yeah.
with age, my alcohol tolerance has been going down.
Yeah.
Um, so these are the two I'm taking on a regular basis. I would say gentian and rosemary. And in the winter, if I feel low immunity or there's a risk of infection, I mean thyme. I make a big deal about thyme because I've recommended it
Mm.
very often, and I think it can stop many infection if you take it often enough during the day, and if you take it in enough quantities
Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
day, right? So that's what I take on a regular. I need to add another one. The one that saved me from so many infections. And I started to take it one winter, maybe 10 years ago. I had a huge bronchitis that knocked me down for weeks. I had antibiotics, several rounds of them. I mean, n nothing could cure it. And after that, several years, I was very weak in the lungs, and astragalus was my savior, really. I mean,
Yeah.
astragalus, 10 grams a day of the root powder. I mean, I'm so glad I had it as an immune tonic and lung protector. And to this day, whenever I feel that something is getting down in the lungs, I reach my astragalus.
I like bitters as well. Wormwood as well, through great bitter.
Oh yeah, I love wormwood too.
Yeah.
Bitter, aromatic bitters, wonderful.
Christophe, listen, thank you very much for this conversation. Maybe we might do it again sometime if you're ever interested in doing an interview for your channel.
Yeah, I loved
Um,
it. Thank you. I
you
mean, it
know,
was a pleasure, Tom. Yeah, yeah. Thank you
yeah,
for
it's
inviting me.
lovely to listen to your
Yeah.
story, and I hope my viewers find it interesting. Just introducing people to herbalists and to natural methods and nature is
Mm.
wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. So that was Christophe. Great interview, very interesting story. And I hope you found this video interesting. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the herbs he talked about.